feel for me.
Was not even that.
I'm like, poor thing.
Yeah, how supportive
She's
really
encouraged. And then I have to
board, but I think having a plan where they can
class can be super challenging, but I'm
All right.
she's my home, and mom is still my Christy. One here for us, you know, like, that's exhausting for mom, and sister doesn't like, I need to take a step back.
getting
Okay, what are the things that we can do?
All right. So I was talking with them, you guys decided we need to do a functional behavior assessment.
Actually, we found.
Oh, you did find it?
Yes.
This is,
Yep, you got it.
we dug a little deeper.
I like it.
Oh, there it is.
So how did it go? How were answering the questions? Any challenges?
I love writing behavior support plans.
She is really good at this,
Well, I just really, it's just
I got my
really,
kid figured out.
it's just fun to think about ways, and I think it's because when you're frustrated, it's such a way of approaching it positively, and like, how can we use the strengths? It makes me feel better about the kiddo, you know, like I read the vignette and I'm like, oh gosh, there's so much
Right.
going on, and then it's a way of, you know, all of a sudden I feel like, you know, have a plan, I feel positive, and that's gotta also feel good for the parents, and I don't know.
It's true, and it takes a lot of work up front, and it's gonna take a lot of work to implement, but it's not the quick fix. It's not saying, okay, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna do this, and oh, the kid's gonna be a miracle again, okay, we got it. No, it's really looking at all the pieces, and it does feel like, okay, this will work, okay, we'll try this, and really kind of coming together as a team and figuring it out, and I think it's better for the parents because they see that you're focusing on their strengths, and they feel like part of a team, and you're not saying, oh, this is what you did wrong, and we gotta fix this, so, I love that. It's so true. It's just, it makes you feel better. It's like, okay, it takes the frustration and the emotion out of it, and all right, here's what we can do. Exactly. I love
Well,
it.
and if you have a plan, you can move forward with anything if you have a plan. It's that chaotic piece where you don't know what you're going to do next. That's the piece that's so overwhelming. But when you have a plan, you have something workable, and you can change the situation because you have a plan.
Exactly. Exactly. So awesome. Thanks, Annie. All right. So the steps, we're going to build a behavior support team. So who's going to be involved with that kid? So if Graham is watching them all the time, we want them on the meeting. We want everyone there. So first we're going to make sure we have a strong team. Person-centered planning. So like Brooke was saying, we're focusing on that child. It's going to be all about them. Functional behavior assessment, we're going to look at that. Then we're going to make a hypothesis, and then we're going to develop the plan, and then we're going to take lots of data to monitor it. So we'll get into that later. So we're going to communicate to the family about the process. What does it look like? Here are some terms that you're going to hear, and here are some definitions. We're not just going to say PBS, because they're going to be like, what? So we're going to make sure we're on their level, and we're communicating that with them. Consider all the people that impact the child on a daily basis. Formally invite members to the team based on family's permission and approval. And that can be tricky, really trying to navigate schedules and who can do this and that. But when you can do it and you can have them all there, it's so powerful. It's really fun. It's really interesting. So, again, person-centered planning provides a process for bringing the team together to discuss their visions and dreams for the child. So really making sure what the family wants is what we're going to do, like we've talked about before. Family partnership. So engaging and maintaining positive relationships is essential. This is what we are talking about with partnering with families. Is it easier to include family members in all aspects related to their child when they are valued and appreciated, of course. Families' contributions may and usually has a large impact on the success of the plan. Like Molly was saying, if they're not doing it at home, it's probably not going to work. So making sure they're on board with it. And making sure that they're comfortable with participating. I know the one that Molly and I did, Grandma really didn't want to be there with us, but she did help us write down some data stuff and filled out some things, so that's fine. So this is a family. Brooke, do you remember the little boy's name?
No.
I can't remember his name. I think they'll say it in here, but
Isn't that Brendan?
Brendan, yes. Brendan is gonna be kind of the little guy we're gonna kind of watch along, 16, 17, and 18. And he's the same little boy you guys saw going into the library with Mom. And just watching it, it's kind of like, you know, when you first see that behavior, but really kind of hearing what they have to say is very interesting. So they're going to kind of share a little bit about how they feel about their child. And so it's really interesting to see how they feel. So it's powerful. And like I said, we'll be following along the way. So it's 2 videos back to back.
just going out. We just decided to stay home because it was easier, or taking turns going out, or I wait for you to come home from work. And
we couldn't even go in and out of Publix or Walmart because we couldn't get through the door without having a tantrum. Sure, they could go to a restaurant and sit down and have dinner for a half hour. Just simple, everyday life things we couldn't do.
We became isolated. Not even eating dinner at home, or giving the kids baths, or simple things at home. So we ended up just developing routines around Brendan, and that was what we did. I think everybody revolved around him.
I guess what made Brendan tough before PBS was that we had no way to communicate with him. We didn't know what he wanted. He was frustrated, we were frustrated, and it was just a lack of communication of understanding why he was doing what he was doing, and then how to resolve it. It's probably the toughest for me, so she just didn't know just how to communicate with him.
I think it was so hard when he would just fall down, and I had to carry him in places, carry him out of places. We were spectacles. People just watched us, they judged us.
There's one more.
I guess when we missed out on activities that our family members were having, I guess you felt defeated, depressed.
I felt abandoned
Yeah.
by the family. I felt like our family wasn't supporting us, and our entire family was excluded from an event because of our child, and I didn't think that they were helping us to know what to do with our kid. I mean, if anything, they had some pretty tough comments about, well, maybe you should consider an institution. And some of these things are well-meaning. They actually meant well by saying these things about our child, but none of it was really good advice.
I guess you have a lot of self-pity, like, you're kind of like, I can't believe this is what my life has turned into. And it's like, and maybe that's what we felt the most is like, how did this happen? How did we go from where we were, 3 years ago or 4 years ago to where we are, today, not being able to leave our house? So that was probably like the worst feeling.
Other people looked at us like there was something wrong with our parenting skills.
Certainly before PBS, people, you just see it, you go to the grocery store and you have somebody tell you, this is the way you should do it, or, your child's doing that because whatever, you're spanking him, looking at spanking and he'll be fine, or whatever, so you have all those, everybody has their own opinion on how you should raise a child without even knowing what your situation is, so,
I think strangers always gave us advice when we were out, and our family always gave us advice, and it was somewhere always along the line of discipline, punishment.
Anyone have any comments?
That just took me back to like when my kids, would act up in a store or something. And my kids are, older, 27, 29, and 31. And it was like, that kid, you need to whip his ass.
Yeah.
That's the way they would talk to me, and it's like, excuse me?
Yeah.
Because he's upset because I won't give him a sucker? You're gonna yell, whip his ass? It's like, go away.
Yeah, it
You
doesn't
don't-
feel good.
No, and that just took me back to that. It was like, wow.
I just can't imagine the toll it would take every time, so I had a bad incident with my kid right before he got the flu. He was and I just didn't know he was sick yet. And we went to Chipotle, and he had, it Sully does not have very many meltdowns, like real meltdowns. I mean, it was the on the floor, screaming, kicking, and I was like, oh my gosh, what happened? I'm trying to all my positive behavior, and all these ladies are looking at me like, and I felt really judged, and it was really funny because this is one incident. I can't imagine having a kid where it's every
day.
single day.
Right,
And you love your kid, and all these people are given this, like, your kid is a bad kid. I just can't imagine as a mom.
It'd be so hard.
It would just be so hard.
Did it change anyone's view on how you felt when you were watching him walk into the library? Yeah. Gives you a whole different perspective, right? And two, I think it's so important, especially when you're doing these, when you do talk about your feelings on it, because we do want to validate how they're feeling, and then we really want to say, okay, that's how you're feeling, and now we're going to look at the behavior. Because those are strong feelings. To feel abandoned, that is a strong feeling, and to take that feeling out of it, to look at Brennan's behavior, is really hard to do. So really making sure we're thinking about that is important. And how horrible, you know, to feel like, how did my life get here because of your child's challenging behavior? That's hard.
Well, I bet it's hard for them to reach out too, because every time they have with their families, they've been shut down or said that, like, all this negative stuff, so then they feel really isolated. I mean, to even reach out for help, I can see that being really challenging, because they're probably scared that they're gonna be met with the same rejection as their kid. I mean, that's such a tough place to be.
And I think too, sometimes you'll get that pushback from families because they're afraid it's not gonna work.
Yeah.
They've tried everything and nothing works, and they kind of have that attitude, so having that buy-in's important too, so.
Yeah, that was one thing Amy and I talked about, that like focusing on the families and realizing, because I have a little girl who's actually very similar to the girl we had last year, and sometimes when I think about like this impulse control and how, you know, she's physically cannot stop it, and thinking about like that must be exhausting for her. Like I can't even imagine this tiny little thing, and it's like it's got to be exhausting. Like I can feel her energy on me when she's like, I don't think she physically can calm her body. And then thinking about like, I have her for such a short period of the day, and I can't imagine, like, mom must be exhausted. And so thinking about that piece, like what the families are going through with some of these things.
It's so powerful.
Yeah. That's gotta be exhausting. That's challenging for that, in the classroom, but then thinking about the families and dealing with it 24/7.
Yeah, and I mean, when you're able to kind of empathize with them, you're going to be a better teammate for them too, because you're going to understand how they're feeling, and because you're feeling the same way for that short amount of time, and then you're going to be able to help them even more. So it's so true. So goal setting. So we're going to identify the goals. We're going to determine a target routine. So we see that a child is doing a specific behavior. Maybe it's always doing open play. Maybe it's always at bedtime, or maybe it's always at mealtime. We're going to really look at when that behavior is occurring and target one routine of the day. We're going to this child might have a really challenging time, but maybe for her, we're just going to focus on walking into the library, or maybe walking into a building, and what do we do? Really focusing on that. Because like as Brooke has said before, we're going to hone on this one piece, because that is more manageable than the entire day. We're going to begin with one behavior to reduce. They might have 5, they might have 6, but we're going to focus on one. We're going to help one at a time, and it's more manageable. Begin with a skill that we want them to see. It might be an emotional skill, but really thinking about, okay, if we're going to take this out, what are we going to replace it with? And sometimes that is tricky. That part is really tricky. So what behavior is appropriate? What behavior is going to be an appropriate behavior to replace it with?
And what can they do? I mean, like the little girl Molly's talking about, you might have a different behavior that you're going to expect for someone else, but maybe this little girl, physically, if that's just too demanding for her, so we're going to modify it, and she's got something different, because that's what she's going to be able to be successful doing, and we have to baby step into it, versus somebody else, maybe we can launch right into a bigger skill, or a longer skill, or something like that. But it's definitely modified.
So operational definition is really key. So description of the behavior that is presented in terms that are fully observable and measurable. So it means that all the team members would be able to agree at any moment in time on whether the behavior is occurring. So we're not going to say he was so mad and he did this, because we are not him. We don't know if he was feeling mad. We really don't know that. We have to take the emotional out of it. So here's a non-example. Wants control manipulates the situation. We don't know if he really wants to do that, right? But we can all agree that if this was really happening, walks away from the adult when asked or told to do something. That sounds way more manageable than this, right? And for a parent, if you went in and said, well, he really wants to manipulate the situation, they might be offended, right? Or if a parent says that about that, if you focus in on that, it's going to take it off them, because we don't know if that's really what their goal is.
Well, that word manipulates is really an emotionally charged word for a parent to hear.
Right? Exactly.
Because I'm sure if a parent would hear that, they're going all kinds of different places in their brain. you know?
Exactly,
Oh,
yes.
so my child is unmanageable, is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
You know?
Yes,
Right.
exactly. And two, sometimes you'll hear parents talk about their own kid in that emotionally charged state. You know, sometimes they'll focus on that negative. So really bringing it back to this will make it more manageable. And it makes everybody on the same page because you're taking all that out of it. So making sure that we're making sure it's an operational definition is important. Okay, so I thank you. I had you guys still sitting there for a reason. We're going to do this activity. So you guys can take out handout 16, or handout 16.6. I'm going to get mine out too. Goal sheet. Yes, so it is, looking like this. It's a goal sheet. So we're going to try to fill the sheet out based on your child's vignette. So we're going to create a behavior goal for the child as well as an operationally define their target behavior. So we're going to make an operation definition of this. And we're going to take emotion out of it and make just a true definition for it. So you guys can kind of follow along on the sheet. If you guys write on this one and want blank ones, we can totally get that to you guys. So that'd be awesome. Thanks, Brooke. Brooke's on it. I love it. Okay, so if you guys want to go ahead and get started, it's really kind of a nice sheet. It has easy definitions to follow, and we're just going to focus on one behavior. Does anyone have any questions? No? Okay.